I would have never thought in my early 20s that I would ever been able to marry. And I've been married and divorced twice now. So my heterosexual friends are like, it's just like us, you know? My name is Greg Rodriguez, and I work for the Riverside County Housing and Workforce Solutions Department. I'm going to start with a really quick story. It was actually when we were moving from Huntington Beach to Idaho, and I was 14. I remember the last day of school was getting on my bike from school and being called a faggot. And I wasn't even out at that point. But I've always remembered that because it was the hate out of that mouth. And as I look back, what we see is a lot of youth, and it's much better now in schools, but they're taught stuff that they don't understand. I technically came out when I was 18, and that was my senior year of high school. I had really supportive friends around me. I was living by myself at that time, so I didn't really have to tell the family at that time. I came out in my early 20s to my mom and my dad. They were both very, very supportive, and my mom, of course, knew. The funny thing, the first thing out of her mouth was that, oh, you would have made such a great father. Because at that time, you know, gay men were not having children. My ex and I, we adopted Zachary, who actually is my nephew by birth, when he was born, so straight out of the hospital. He was a 3 months premature baby, about 1 pound, 16 ounces, diagnosed with autism. Luckily today, high functioning. You know, there's certain challenges he has, but a lot better than what we anticipated. 4 years later, we decided to adopt another child. Of course, we wanted a little girl, so you have the boy and the girl. We'd left for Mexico for a vacation and got back. There was a message on the phone, and they're like, well, we have this other little boy. He's 4 years old. You know, what'd you think about that? And, you know, as we started thinking, it's like, well, maybe it would be good to have someone around Zach's age, because Zach was 4 at that time. And so I went to see Joshua on a Saturday and brought him home on a Sunday. He'd been in and out of 5 foster homes before he was 5, but they're both doing well today. A couple little challenges, but we're getting through those. More difficult, though, was I found out in my early 20s, I went to go apply for life insurance, and I got turned down, and because I had tested HIV positive.
The AIDS epidemic may soon surpass any disease in this century and possibly any disease in history. The number of people infected is staggering.
That was really more difficult than actually coming out as gay. I hid that for many years, and again, at that time, there was no medication. I tell people, and I really believe it, I think the AIDS epidemic really got people to treat gay men and lesbian women, by extension, more as equals and more as human beings. And as more people not only contracted the disease and had to come out to family members, people started realizing, I know someone who's gay. And I think it's just been an education process. Being diagnosed with HIV really changed my mindset a lot, because it wasn't just about expressing who I was and who I wanted to love, but it was more about I had to survive. And in order for me psychologically to survive at that time, I had to be true to who I was. So I really believe the way I did survive was my willpower, and it was really being comfortable in my skin. I've been involved in housing since the early 90s, mostly on initiatives around HIV and AIDS housing. This issue of housing and homelessness, and even the healthcare extension, because that is an extension, I believe housing is a social determinant of health, it's passionate to me. I love what I'm doing because we're actually getting results. This county is leading in the state. This past year, the board accepted some $35 million investment in the Housing Homeless Incentive Program. I've seen this work come to fruition, and I'd like to think I'm playing a good role in that.